This week on Arizona Illustrated, the Pascua Yaqui Festival of the Arts.
Now we're accepted. Now where people want to know. They want to be a part of the community. They want to be a part of the people and know what we're doing.
A community activist speaks out.
It still baffles me that people like myself and my camarada here have to stand in front of crowds to go, hey, look, we're human and we hurt, just like you.
And the Native Grasslands of Arizona.
Up until the 1890s, fire was a natural influence on the land. It was as natural as rain. That natural process basically came to a stop right at the beginning of the 20th century.
Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Southern Arizona is home to a diverse tapestry of people and cultures that make our part of the country so beautiful and unique. We had the chance to attend one recent event where parts of our community came together to celebrate the arts. The Pascua Yaqui Festival of the Arts brings together artists, musicians, and neighbors to share their work, their history, and their culture.
We're at the 8th annual Pascua Yaqui Festival of the Arts here in New Pascua. We're at our Wellness Center park here. We've been doing this for 8 years. It's an event that started to encourage our Yaqui artists to sell their artwork and to bring people over here to buy their artwork. And performers as well, because we had a lot of local hip-hop groups and local bands coming out over here in New Pascua, but didn't have a place to play. So we kind of built the festival around giving them a platform, and it has grown since then. And then eventually became this. Then we added the lowrider car show to bring more people, obviously, to the event.
This will be my 3rd year. I do clay dolls. So I make them, I bake them, and you take them. But I've been making dolls since 2005, and I started at the National Hispanic Cultural Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I've been making dolls for the Pascua in Tucson ever since then.
We do this every year. When I say we, I'm speaking of the Neoglyphics team. My name is Rene Garcia, they call me Strike One. I've been painting graffiti art since I was 10, I guess, 11. I'm 47 now, still painting and encouraging youth and Native American contemporaries, indigenous people, people that are doing Native American art with spray paint mostly. That's our medium.
Good. No rips and tears. As of today, I'm one of the judges for the car show here. I'm actually judging the Oldsmobiles and the Cutlasses and the Monte Carlos and everything. So I'm part of that category. The rest of the judges are judging the trucks, the older model vehicles, and so on and so forth. What attracts my attention? Basically, it's mainly the paint job and how the car is lifted like this one. It could be lifted on all fours or dropped or just be having the front up and back down. The paint job would usually be the first thing that made me say like, oh, crazy. I like that paint job.
It was really beat when we first got it, so it's come a long way. It's a 81 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. It's got 10 batteries, 2 pumps. Everything's fully chrome and reinforced underneath. My dad, he's a gearhead, so my family, they're into hot rods and 4x4s and everything. I was kind of going off the the hinges a little bit, and he's the one that kind of pushed me in the right direction to start getting into cars, and this is basically what kept me out of trouble. I have my son now, so he just turned 1, so I want to motivate him and show him and put him in the right direction as well. There used to be a lot of drama, but now it's just more family-oriented now. You know what I mean? It's gone to be a great community of everybody getting together. I mean, it's just nice, everybody having the same passion to want to build something.
I've been working for the tribe for 13 years at the Pascua Yaqui radio station, KPYT. We're a low-power radio station. I am Pascua Yaqui tribal member, but I did not grow up here in New Pascua. I grew up in the barrios of Tucson, and when I started working here, I wanted to learn more about my culture and wanted to get more involved with the culture and the people and the community, and this is kind of an output of that.
Mexico was trying to take the land from the real Yaquis, so they had to fight a lot. Yeah, it's always been a fight. They didn't start registering Yaquis until 2 years after I was born, so it was 79 is when they started registering Yaquis.
Yeah, got 'em waving the white flag. They didn't think that I would last.
It's really amazing because I feel like now we're accepted, now where people want to know, you know? They want to be a part of the community, they want to be a part of the people and know what we're doing.
The 13 years I've been here, I have seen events grow bigger and stronger. The Wellness Center has done lots of great things.
The more we get together, I think their message would be that we're more unified.
One thing that I've learned a lot that's coming around is the water is life. That's the newest thing that I think that all tribes are unified on.
That's the beautiful thing about our culture is that we empower our people and we focus on that. Otherwise, you know, we just get weaker. We want to get stronger though.
I want ours to live on. When the world is gone, there'll still be our art. They can learn about our culture. They can revive it. All you have is time right now. And we're blessed to be here every day.
In this contentious and critical election year, citizens are being called on to choose candidates and causes that will ultimately guide our country into the next chapter. For some, it doesn't start and stop with national elections. They stay civically engaged in their local community day in and day out. This is Zaira.
It's been a very painful tattoo. It was really deeply a penance that I wanted to pay for having not been there for my brother. My friend Haji always asked, "Do you like it?" And I tell him, "No, I hate it. I hate it because I wish with every ounce of my being that this tattoo didn't exist, that this conversation wasn't happening, that this wasn't the reality of my life. I wish my life was different."
I've seen police look our way and shake their head. We're not going anywhere. You can shake your head at us all you want. You're gonna have to stand me. You're gonna have to fathom my rage until we have justice.
My name is Zaira Livier. I am co-founder and director of People's Defense Initiative. I shy away from describing myself as an activist most of the time. An advocate for human rights, I prefer.
The Free the Children Coalition stands united here today, demanding an end to Stone Garden Federal Grant Program in Pima County, which leads to racial profiling, leads to more detention, leads to more deportation, leads to more permanent family separation, which is what deportation is.
What Stone Garden is a grant that's given to border counties. Under that grant, Pima County Sheriff's Department deputies double as immigration enforcement agents.
And it's time for us to say no. Thank you.
Organizations joined together and decided to lobby the hell out of the Board of Supervisors and put out an all-out Reject Stone Garden Funds campaign.
That's a pain I don't wish anyone ever has to experience in their lives. I was 19 years old, and I had to fight my mom's deportation case. All this because local police collaborated with Border Patrol.
It still baffles me that people like myself and like my camarada here have to stand in front of crowds to go, hey, look, we're human and we hurt, just like you.
I'm from Querétaro, which is just north of Mexico City. My mom was born in Querétaro, my aunt was born in LA, so we have a long history of traveling back and forth. Eventually things at the border changed. My mother needed to get us to Tucson because of a family emergency, and they wouldn't let us cross because we didn't have a visa. We were caught over and over and over again. It was my mother and myself and my brother. My aunt was like, you know what, we're just gonna walk in. I was holding a juice box and we said US citizen and they let us through, and that was that. The trick was to not look like immigrants and to know a little bit of English. My mother and I have been here ever since. My brother was deported some years back.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we'll get started with quick introductions. We got a racial profiling, law enforcement, and community partnership committee, which I am the chair of right now.
This time next week, I will be at the White House chairing a panel discussion with sheriffs and ICE and Border Patrol national representatives. So your voice will be heard a week from today at the White House.
Being there across the table from a person who really wants a grant and you saying you're not gonna get it, and he's the highest law enforcement official in our county, it wasn't easy and it was very stressful.
There's a lot good that has come out of this. What I don't want us to do is to transfer those monies over to people we can exercise no such relationship with, which is where those monies will go.
I'll give the sheriff credit. He is a person that you can have a conversation with. We got a racial profiling policy. The sheriff's department had never had a racial profiling policy. So all in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Aye. Okay. It was a beautiful thing. We were the only county in the entire United States to turn that down. For the Bernie Sanders campaign, I just founded and created a group called Latinas for Bernie Sanders. That was the first time that I ever volunteered my time to anything political. That primary was coming to a close. I was approached by a Phoenix group who was putting Prop 206 on the state ballot in 2016, and that is the minimum wage and earned paid sick time initiative. Vote yes on Prop 206, show up, vote, and rebel against the establishment that is working really hard to get you to stay at home, okay? We passed that overwhelmingly. That campaign changed my life. Trump also won. I was devastated, so I think I was in bed for like 2 weeks. And then I got up and I started organizing around immigrants' rights. We're finally seeing that we're building some political power. The Democratic Socialists of America, at least the folks here locally, are young, they're in college. They're itching to work on something. The ground is ripe in Tucson for young, progressive people like us to go in there. Being a grassroots organizer, I learned so much, and I unlearned a lot of things. One of them being change happens from the top. That's not true. The Democratic Party is a friend. That's also not true. That Trump is the boogeyman and everything's his fault. That is also very much not true. Obama deported millions of migrants. He deported my brother. His name was Memo. Once he got older, he wanted people to call him Saeed, but I've never called him that. We grew up and we both had our behavioral issues. When I would get mentors and teachers that wanted to help me, he would instead get suspended, sent to juvie. He ended up getting in trouble right when he turned 18. He didn't hurt anybody. He went in for 6 years. By then, we were permanent residents. My mother had married. He was freed from prison and then imprisoned immediately in Florence, and he was deported. Not only do they kick you out of your own home, but then you go back to the country that they say that you belong to, and that country also doesn't want you. So 5 months ago, he was shot and killed. He was executed in an alleyway, basically. The terror of that entire experience will never be lost on me. I didn't think I was going to do the work anymore, to be honest. It's really hard work, and you hardly ever win. And while you're fighting it, people are dying. I just never thought my own brother would be one of those statistics. I hadn't felt anything other than deep grief and sadness in a really long time. I go skydiving and I feel nothing until I'm up in the airplane right next to the door, and then I jump, and halfway through I finally feel something. I was terrified, but also felt like I was alive and well for the first time. Having seen how ugly and tragic death can be, I have a deep, deep respect for life, one that I didn't have before.
We want justice! We want justice! We want power! We want power! We want justice!
Life is as beautiful as it is cruel.
No más muertos! No más.
And my work will revolve around trying to tear down the systems which contributed to my brother's death, and there were many. There were a lot.
The Earth's surface continues to change dramatically. Oceans are warming, glaciers are melting, fire and drought are expanding, and worldwide agriculture demands are on the rise. Locally, the native grasslands, the desert grasslands, are rapidly declining and are among the most threatened natural habitats in the country. This is common ground.
Most of southeast Arizona, call it 150 years ago, roughly when the first big wave of white settlers came into the country was just a sea of grass. Some of the early descriptions of the valleys of southeast Arizona were just open grass from one mountain range to the next. And it was just a rancher's dream, this grass extending for miles and miles. And at the time, they simply didn't realize how fragile the country was.
Woody plant proliferation in grasslands issue has been around for quite a long time. If you look at that old literature, people there started talking about the shrubs seem to be making inroads into grasslands. They had a premonition that this could become a problem, and indeed by the 1930s and 40s it was a problem. South America, Australia, Africa, for example, all the major continents have this woody plant encroachment phenomena that have been happening over the last 100 years.
Elkhorn Ranch is a working ranch that has been in our family since 1946. Here at our ranch at Elkhorn, we found in the early 80s that conditions had evolved such that we had very dense mesquite densities in some areas. We had very little grassland cover, and we had serious gully erosion.
My name is Clara Miller. My sister and I are fourth-generation ranchers at our ranch Elkhorn. We don't feed very much hay, so it's mostly during the summer they're turned out to pasture all the time. So having pastures that we can use is a pretty big deal.
In the 70s and 80s, they really focused on managed efforts to remove mesquites. They tried chaining, which is dragging a big anchor chain across pastures and just knocking over mesquites and uprooting them, which had success, but it also leveled everything in its path too. So a lot of endangered species would be impacted by that.
The grasses have a dense network of shallow roots which hold the soil in place, and the structure of that perennial grass captures rainfall and encourages it to infiltrate into the soil, and really plays an important role in watershed function. Places like the Altar Valley, we're in the watershed of a major drainage that feeds the aquifer for Tucson. So 1 million people downstream depend for part of their water supply on the recharge from this valley.
The 1900s, early in the 20th century, there was quite a controversy nationally about the role of fire. As a result of a large fire in 1910 that burned 3 states up in the northern Rockies, it forced the policy decision to go toward total fire exclusion.
Up until the 1890s, fire was a natural influence on the land. It was as natural as rain. Fire will kill the brush, stimulate the grass, release nutrients to improve grass growth. So with fire, we can see a recovery of grassland and maintain that kind of dynamic equilibrium between grasses and shrubs.
Excluding fire is ill-advised, and the application of prescribed fire is a legitimate and most ecologically appropriate and inexpensive tool that we have at our disposal.
People had been starting to use prescribed fire as a management tool to rejuggle the vegetation back towards grassland, away from brushy type vegetation. And that program was very successful, but as a lot of the regulatory issues, Endangered Species Act compliance, as those laws became a bigger part of doing business, it became much harder to do these management practices. While everyone believes that prescribed fire is a very good management tool, we are finding that it is very difficult to implement.
The word prescribed means there's a set of conditions within which you can do it, and outside of those prescribed limits, you can't. It's very easy in any given year to not have your prescription line up in a way that you can actually do the project.
Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you enjoy your stay while you're hearing all of them.
Having a meeting between the Malpai Borderlands Group and the Altar Valley Alliance was a cross-boundary conversation.
Getting the right groups of people together from those 2 initiatives, very place-based initiatives, plus a few other key resource people, to really tackle their priority issues on fire. And everyone has kind of a piece of the solution, and you can see stuff getting done on the ground.
I was sort of retired last night from the evening conversation, and I was thinking, well, I don't know, it doesn't feel like we really have any obstacles. You all have diligently and persistently and doggedly cleared the trail.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to Pig Mountain. You're all experienced in this fuel type and terrain. Be cognizant of where you're at and what you're doing. Be paying attention to the fire behavior and the topography.
Please be safe and have fun, and realize that you're part of pretty symbolic day as well of trying to get a good prescribed fire going again in southern Arizona.
We're going to break here, and then we're going to head out here. We're going to start lighting.
This ranch has been in operation since 1895, just shy of our 125th anniversary. And I think that's a pretty long legacy that speaks to caring more about the land itself, a way of lifestyle on the land, than just a short gain of money. We're always getting a better understanding of what the landscape should be, could be, would have been.
Conservation of grasslands as an ecosystem type is potentially a worthy goal. So it's not just about increasing forage production, but it's also about maintaining grassland diversity and biodiversity. It's maintaining habitat for game and non-game wildlife. It's about carbon sequestration. It's about potentially groundwater recharge and stream flow, and a whole variety of ecosystem services. But brush management treatments, they can be prohibitively expensive. It shouldn't be the responsibility of that landowner and that rancher. The public needs to say, we're willing to support efforts that will get us these benefits that we all need and enjoy.
It's these place-based groups, collaboratives, that are bringing together, say, the rural producers, landowners with environmental organizations and all the agencies and others.
You can't help but feel optimistic because they just care about it so much. And so you get enough people together that care that much, and you figure something good is going to happen.
It feels wonderful, you know, to be able to ride through an area and see a place that at one time it was sort of raw and ugly, and now you see it covered with vegetation and you see its shape more rounded. There's bigger plant diversity in that area. That's really satisfying.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Here's a sneak peek at a story we're working on.
When it comes to racism, segregation, and oppression, I think it's, similar in all areas of the country.
I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.